Today I'm going to explain about how to use the FAST API, and we are going to apply to one kind of problem, which is about the user management. First, I would like to explain what is system architecture, and I will give you a lot of codes to show about backend. In this case, I'm going to use SQL for the backend. And then I would like to explain about the front end. So in this case, we are going to use the HTML for the front end. And at the end, I would like to explain to you another alternative. As you learned last week, when we access the data, we can use ORM, or Object Relationship Management. We can use SQL. So yeah, we are going to look at those two. The ORM will be a little bit more, yeah, you need to have more files to deal with the FAST API, but using the SQL, you need to have only one file. So let's start with the SQL first. After we have the front end, I will explain how to use the ORM. So this one is about the ERD. Now, I would like to explain about the system architecture. So what is the system architecture? We call it the system architecture is the conceptual model. It will define the structure, the behavior, and more views of a system. So if you can see this one, this is one example of system architecture. The system architecture diagram will be used to show the relationship between different components. Let's say I have this laptop. I have this laptop. So this is one component. And then this component will connect to some kind of system. Maybe this is the software. They call it the flux capacitor. And then this will connect to another kind of system. Let's say this is the inward service. And this kind of system will connect to another system. For example, this is a server, or they call it jump box. They have another server and so on. And they will connect to another kind of system, which is, this is for the WAN. So the connection, we can show it into a diagram. So this diagram, we can say this is one of the system architecture. Usually, they are created for systems which include hardware and software. It means you know what kind of hardware. Maybe you are using computer, you are using tablet, you are using smartphone. And the software, you are using FAST API, you are using HTML, you are using Python, and etc. And these are represented in the diagram to show the interaction between them. You can see, okay, there's an interaction between the user, in this case, the client with laptop, connecting to one system, which is the flux capacitor, and so on. So we can also use this system architecture for web application. It can also be created for web application. In the web programming, in this case, we are using the FAST API. We can use it to show the MVT concept. Last week, we learned about the MVT concept. You still remember M? This is for the model. V, This is for the view. See, this is for the template. Okay. Yeah, this is one of the concepts that we can use to show the system. So for example, yeah, I have the user. Let's say the user is the student, the children. And there might be another user who is the teacher. And they are going to connect to the user interface. Let's say, yeah, they can use the Mozilla, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, Opera, and so on. And there should be a kind of system that connect to this kind of browser. For example, they have the learning management system, or they have some kind of content management unit. So once they connect to this, they are going to connect to one module, and this module will connect to the database. And yeah, this database will connect to another system, it will connect to another system, and then they also connect to another kind of unit. Okay. Then it means you can see that, okay, when a student connect to this website, actually they are not connecting into only one website. Actually, they are connecting to several sites. They connect to the LMS, they connect to one subsystem, they connect to another subsystem. So using one system architecture, we can show the relationship between the components. Now, we are going to make this kind of system architecture. At the final project, so you need to design this system architecture as well. The system architecture will be different when you create your system with the SQL. Yeah. Maybe it will be different when you create with the ORM. So we will see how it will be different. So for the first time, I would like to show you how we can create the system using the SQL. Here, we can say that this is the template. We can generate the HTML file, HTML file, HTML file, HTML file. In this case, okay, we know that there are 4 HTML in our system. And the URL. We know in the main.py, there might be a URL for the connection between the HTML and the file in the main.py. So we can define, for example, yeah, this kind of symbol means we will check the root. For example, this one, I would like to connect to the form, a kind of form. And then this one is of URL to save some information about the user. And then this URL, it refers to a function related to deletion or delete the user. So those functions, I can say this is a function. Those functions are in the main.py. I just say this is the user setting, and I can say this is the user management. Yeah, so you can say anything about this word, about this section. And after I have these two things, so it will connect to the model. So the model, in this case, this is the database. And this database, we are using the SQLite. Then you can see that this is the model. When you connect to the view, it means you just try to figure out what are the views logic And once you know the logic, you show everything in your HTML file. And every HTML file will go to the browser, so the client can access the data. Okay. So we are going to create this one. Okay. Now my question is, can we make this system architecture before we do the programming? So before you do the programming, it might be difficult, but you can make a plan. Okay, so this is a kind of plan. Once you finish with your programming, maybe you need to update your system architecture. So yeah, it is okay. That's why later on in your final project, you need to make a plan. Okay? So before you do your program, before you develop your web programming, you need to make a plan. When you finish your program, maybe your plan does not the same, is not the same with your actual program. So you can update your system architecture. Okay. Now let's look one by one. Okay. We are going to make the back end, and in the mid exam, I will show you like this one. So I will show you the user interface. So in this case, there will be three kind of user interface. The first user interface is, I will give the explanation on your mid exam. The first user interface is to show the user list. And if you can see this user list, okay, we have one button to add a new user. And then on the top, there is a kind of title to show the web. This is the membership portal. And then, yeah, you have the home, you have the section add member. And then we have a table. So this table shows about the user ID, the username, user email, user's age, gender, city, and there are some action. For example, here, let's say I'm going to edit this user. Then it shows the button edit. So once you click here or once you click here, there might be another page. So let's say add user. Then we know that this is about this add new user. Once you click the add new user, you will show this page, and we can add the new user according to the attribute. For example, I can ask the user to fill in the name, email, age, gender, and the city. And then there are two buttons, save and cancel. So if it is about saving, means you are going to save the data into the database. Cancel, it means you are not saving the information that you just input. If you are editing, then let's say I'm going to edit this person, A, B, C, D, E, F. Then it will show directly the information on this page. And then if you are going to modify some of the data, you can modify it and then save into the database. Or let's say I'm not going to keep this data. I want to delete the data. Then you can delete the data. So there is a button, delete. So those kind of things, yeah, we say previously about CRUD. Is to remember? Okay, we call this is CRUD. C, it is create. R, it is read. U means update, and D means delete. So we are going to create the data using this page, and then we are going to read the data using this page, and then we are going to update the data using this page, and we can also delete the data using this page. So there is a button delete when you want to delete the data. So let's look at the detail how we can create the CRUD. So maybe on the exam I cannot show you this kind of video, but this is a kind of animation to show that, okay, once you have this page, you can fill in the information. Okay. Once you fill the information, you save it, and then let's say you want to add a new user. So you can add a new user, email, and then the age, and then the gender, the city, and then once you save it, then you can show the data. If you want to modify, then once you modify it, then it will apply to the data. If you want to delete this one, okay, then the data will be deleted. Okay, so we are going to make this one in our web, and this will be one of the problem for your mid exam. So let's do one by one. First, let's make a new project. Okay, let's make a new project. Moment. Oh. Okay, so it seems this is still available with the Fast API. So in my computer, the trial has been expired. So this is not a trial version. This is still good, I guess. Anyway, let's create a new Fast API. If your computer is still available with Fast API, so you can just create the Fast API. And you can just define your project name. For example, user management. Okay. And then I would like to use the Python, and let me just use the Python from this system. Okay, because I don't have any other Python, so I will use this system. In this case, I do not need to create the user, I don't need to use the virtual environment. So I'm just using the existing Python. Using this way, you can, using this way, you can reduce the file size. Okay. So if you use the Python project, the virtual environment, so the file size will be bigger. So let's just use the Python from the Python in this computer. Okay. So this is the initial setup when you create your new project. After this, now let's create the min.py. And then for the min.py, there will be some section. Okay. First, I would like to say this is header. So header means you call the relevant library. For example, I call the Fast API, I call the request, I call the form, and then there is a redirect response to connect with the HTML. And then I'm going to use Jinja, and I'm going to use the SQLite. Okay, so let's copy this header into this one. So I hope that you know already about this one. This is to build a new object. So this is to build a new object from the REST API, and this templates is to connect to the HTML file. Now, for using the database, let me use this simple ERD. Because we are just using only one entity, users, then I will have only one table. So the ID will be integer, and it will be a PK, primary key. And there is also another attribute name. It is a form of text, or we can say this is string. Email, it is also a text, which is string. It will be integer. Gender, it will be text, which is in a string. And then city, it will be in the text, which is a string. Okay. So in the in your mid exam, I will also give you this kind of information. So this is the table that you need to create, and I will give you also the data dictionary. So the data dictionary means the information related to this table. So what is ID? ID is the person ID. And then name. This is the person name. Email. This is the person email. This is the person age. Gender. This is the gender of the person. And city. The city where the person lives. Okay. Later on, when you do your final project, you also need to make this kind of ERD. And you need to define the data dictionary, because the user may not understand what is name in this case. Is it a username or is it a product name? What is this age? Is it the product age or this is the user age, and etc. So when you do with this description, people can understand. Okay, this is the description of this column. This is the description of this attribute, and etc. Next, we are going to set up the DB. So the DB, or the database, for now, let's use the SQLite, and we are going to create with the SQL. After the header, we can set up the DB. Okay, so let's take a look one by one. So let me copy this one until the DB setup. And I put below the header. If you look at the code, this is the function name, init DB. It is to initialize the DB. And we will connect to one database. They call it database.db. And when we connect to this database, we are going to create the table. So if you know, in Python, we have double quote, double quote, double quote. So 3 double quote. What does it mean? 3 double quote. It means we can create strings with multiple lines. Multiple line means we can have many lines. If you have the SQL, usually the SQL is not only in one line. If it is too long, the SQL can be in multiple lines. That's why it is recommended to use this kind of 3 double quotes. It is to make sure that your string can be in multiple lines. So if you look at this one, create the table if not access. So if it is the first time, then you will create the table, and the table name will be users. So users will be the same with the table name here. And then we are going to create every of these attributes. Okay, what are the attributes? First, the attribute is ID, and then it will be in the integer format, and it will be the primary key. The ID is auto increment. It means when you have a new data, the ID will be automatically added by 1. The first data is 1, the next data is 2, the next data is 3, the next data is 4, and so on, because this is auto increment. And then name. The name will be text. Email will be text. Age will be integer. Gender will be text. City will be text. And then finish. Okay. So this is the way to create the database using SQL. So this is the code for the DB setup. Once you finish with this definition, you can run this statement. So now do not run the code because I think we need to finish until the end before we run the code. So next, we need to define what is the root. The root means I want to show the main page or the home page. Home, it means the main page. And then I would like to see this table. So this is the user list. You can define in the main.py when it is the root, you can just specify the root. Okay. This is the link or this is the URL to refers to the root of your web. To access this root, you are going to access the function read root. And in this case, we have a request. In this request, I'm going to connect to the database. The database name is database.db. And we are going to check the row. Okay. So we are going to check the row. And for all the users, we are going to check from the table users and then select start. So it means I would like to select all the data from the users. Fetch all the data means I'm going to put all the data into the variable users, and they will reformat this data into the format in Python. Then after you have these users, you can use this users data into the users that later you want to show it into the HTML file. So last time, if you still remember, we can define this data. Let's say I have the data users. Yeah, if you still remember, we did with the dictionary. So name is Alice. Yeah, something like this one. So we can say that this is the data from the database. Now we are directly using the SQL to look at the data and then put into this variable. So this variable will be shown directly to the HTML. Next, or let me just copy and paste this one first for the root. Okay, I will copy and then put into the section after the DB setup. So this is the root section. After we define the root, now let's see about the form. In the form, we are going to show the user information using the input users data. In this case, we have name, email, age, gender, city. So by the default, the SQLite returns the data as simple tuple. Do you know tuple? If you learn Python in the data structure, we have one data structure which is tuple. So a tuple is a kind of list, but you cannot modify the data. So let's say, yeah, I have this tuple, and then the first data will be the ID, for example. The second data will be the name, for example, and the third data will be the email. So once we have this tuple, you can set this tuple as a row. Why the text is like this? Okay. So before we use the row, okay, and this allows us to access the data by the column names. So for example, later you can see we can connect to the variable user dot what is the column name. If the column name is name, then we can directly check the name. User dot what is the column name. If the column name is email, then we can just call the column name which is the email. Then we can connect directly to the data. If we are calling the name, then we can get John, for example. If we can call the email, we can get the john@email.com. In the later part, you will see the SQL command, and then there are some question mark. The question mark, it is a placeholder that prevents SQL injection, a security risk. And there will be this text fetch1. It tells Python to grab just one specific user that matches the ID. So we have fetch all before. Fetch all means we will check all the data. But we have fetch one. It means we are going to check only one data that matches with a kind of condition. In this case, I will use the ID for this one. But let's check. So using the form, this is the code. So let me copy first for the form. And then I will put it into the below part of this. For showing the form, there is one function. It is to show the form. We have two parameters. The first parameter is the request. So we are waiting the user request. And the other is the user ID. So we want to know what is the user ID so that we can check based on the data on our database. So let's make the first initial data user as none. It means we do not know who is the user. And then check the user ID. If user ID. So it means if the user ID exists, or if the user ID is available in this parameter, let's connect to the database. Again, we are going to check all the row, and in this case, we are going to check the user. Select star from users where ID equal to this one. What is this? This is something that we need to show later. So we are not sure what is this information. So that's why we put the question mark. The question mark is a placeholder that prevents SQL injection. So at the first time, you need to put the question mark because we are not sure what kind of ID that we can put. And later on, we will put this one according to the parameter here. So once we have the information user ID, we will use this user ID for this information, and then we will get only one data. Okay, so we will get only one data to show into this form. We will return the form.html, and we will return the request and also the user information. The user information is the user that we got from this SQL. Okay, so this is the form. So there are okay, this is too complex, but okay, let me just explain one by one. We have the next is about the save function. This define the function. Okay. I think so. We need to define what is the form in this case, and we are going to say to the fast API, let's say we are using the form dot dot dot. It means I'm going to use this field or this attribute, and this attribute you need to put the data inside it. If it is using like none, like this one, so it is optional. So we have required and we have optional. Required means the data should be there, like in your information ID should be available. Name, the data should be available, but maybe the city, yeah, it is a kind of optional. Yeah. So once you have those form, you can set up how to save the data. So we can use the update command. Okay. So last week we learned about the update. It means we can so we can update the data where the ID equals to question mark. Again, because we are in the state that we don't have the information about the ID, so we just use the question mark. So if we are editing, we run an update command. So we use again the placeholder question mark for the security. It is to prevent the SQL injection. The name variable inside the parentheses, like name, email, dot dot dot, are swept into those question mark in the order. Maybe I can show you with this code first. So you can see name, email, age, gender, city. Okay. So here we have the name. It is a string, and it will be a form dot dot dot. So it is a required data. Email string, and this is also a form with dot dot dot. This is a required data. It will be integer, and this is also a form dot dot dot. This is required data. Gender, city, those are required data. But now it's so strange. But when we can see this one, the ID is none. It is optional. Why? Because when we are in these states, we already know the ID. So the user do not need to define the ID because it is automatically generated by the database. So if the user ID is from the user, then of course you need to fill this one as the record. Now you are going to connect to the database. Again, check whether the user ID exists or not. If the user ID exists, then let's run the update. What is the update? I'm going to update the table users and then set the name, the email, the age, gender, and the city, where the ID equals to this question mark. And we have these parameters. Okay, please make sure that these parameters should be the same sequence. Name, email, age, gender, city, and user ID. Okay, so this should be in the sequence. So if the user ID exists, it means you are going to update. But what if the user ID does not exist? If the user ID does not exist, it means it is a new user. If it is a new user, it means you are going to insert into the data. Okay. So if the user exists, then you are going to update. If the user does not exist, you are going to create the data. Then creating the data means you are going to insert. Insert into user. We are going to insert the name, email, age, gender, and the city. And what are the values? The values will be question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And those question mark will be filled in with the data that you have. Name refers to the name, email refers to the email, age refers to the age, gender refers to the gender, city refers to the city. And those data, this data was from the parameter that later you will fill in from the form. Okay. So I give you like this one. If it is a new member, you are going to use insert. If edit member, then you are going to use update. So by the definition, you can take a look on this one. If there was no user ID, we run the insert command to add a new row to the table. I'm sorry, I will fix this one. Note that we don't provide the ID here because the SQLite is set to auto increment. It means when you have a new ID, the database will increment the ID automatically. And then at the end, there is a kind of response. This response, it is to check after the database is updated, we don't want to stay on the blank page. So it will send the user back to the home page. So the home page means the slash. It means you can see the updated table immediately. And there is a kind of code. We call it this is the status code 303. The status code 303 is the standard way to tell a browser that the data was processed or the data was successfully processed. And now go to this URL. So you can see at the end of this one, you have the status code is 303. And the last function in this main.py is about the deletion. The deletion means we are going to delete the data. Last week we learned about the SQL. We can delete using the delete command. We are going to delete from the users. So the user is the table users, and we want to specify the ID. The ID in this case, the user ID we obtain from the parameter. After we complete this SQL statement, we will redirect the response to the home page. And then the status code is 303, means when it is success, we will return back to the home page. Okay, so we cannot run this code because we don't have the front end. Let's take a break. I will continue the front end after the break.